Alright, so in this video we are going to go over creating a scriptable object. We're going to go over creating several different types of items that pretty much keep up with money, or how much money, how much gold the player has and stuff like that. So in our player folder that we have, we create a new folder. This is what I did: create a new folder called scriptable objects, and in that I created a C# script called player storage SO, scriptable object. Okay, so the first thing you have to do is instead of mono behavior, make this a scriptable object. So just erase mono behavior and type scriptable object. In this scriptable object, the only thing that is in here right now is gold, because we haven't created anything else that needs to go in here yet. So this is the thing that you can do with scriptable objects. It's called create asset menu. So pretty much the file name of this asset menu is going to be player storage. The menu name equals player/player storage, and the order in this menu asset menu is going to be 0. So let's go back over into Unity and I'll explain what that means. But first, create another folder in your assets folder and call it scriptable objects also. So you see that I already have a player storage object in here, and it does say gold, and it says I have a lot of gold, or maybe not a lot, but anyway. So create, so if you right click anywhere here in the project window and go to create, you can see that you have a new option above folder. Alright, and if you scroll over it, another option comes up called player storage. Click on that, name it whatever you want, because the base of it is going to be player storage. I'm going to delete mine since I already have one. And this is where we're going to store the information for the player. So as you can see, we have gold here. Well, this is the gold that I collected during testing. You notice that I'm not playing anything. So it stores our information outside of the game, and this is what we want. Because at some point we're going to want to buy power-ups or something like that, and you can come out of the actual game into the game menu, for example, and do power-ups. And this is the gold that you'll use for that. Okay, so since we've created this player storage object, I want to create another script in our items folder called gold pickup. Double click on that, and this is it. We need a reference to our player storage object, and we need a reference to the amount to give. And the other stuff is just like everything that we've done before. On Trigger Enter 2D, collision.compare tag player, player storage.gold. So we're looking at the gold inside of this player storage object, plus equals amount to give, and then game object set active false. So right click, create a 2D object, sprites, circle, call it gold, coin, whatever you want to call it, and then make a prefab of that object. So in mine, I named it coin. I gave the amount to give. Let's see, that's not the right script. Amount to give to 1, and here is that player storage thing. So all you have to do is lock this so it doesn't change from this. Grab your player storage and just move it right there, and you have to assign that. Alright, so now that I have this gold prefab, I duplicated it. Money bag 1, money bag 2. Money bag 1 is the same, and it gives I still have it locked. Okay. Money bag 1 is the same as the coin, pretty much, except it gives 10 gold pieces. Money bag 2 is the same as coin, except it gives 100 gold pieces, and you can keep going and going and going. And now you've created a bunch of different objects. Okay. So what we need to do here is go into our item holders, select all of them, and put your coin in slot 1 because that's going to be the most common thing that you get. Health up in slot 2 because that's going to be the second most common thing that you get. Money bag 1 in slot 3 because it's going to be the third most common thing. And then money bag 2 in slot 4, which is element 3. So remember, this is the length. So the total things in there, which is 5 minus 1. And that's what you'll think of when you say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we had to change some things. I had to change some things in where'd it go? In the item holder script. So let's go over here and see what I changed. Yes. So I noticed that once I added another item in, it was spawning 2 items at once, even though it was following our code perfectly. There was just a issue between these 2 items where it would spawn both of those items. So this is what I did. I created a bool called item decided, and on enable I set it to false. Okay, and so every time this is enabled, that's going to be false, so that it doesn't pick it up several times. And like I said, eventually we're going to put this into a pool, so we just have these items, the item holders. No, this one is not going to be in a pool. This one comes is enabled after it is disabled. So that's right. So anyway, when we collide with this object, or when we enter the trigger, if it is not item decided, then we'll call item decided true immediately. And the reason why I said immediately is because this was being called twice. This is what I found was the issue, is that this would be called twice on entering the trigger for whatever reason. So the way I solved it was have this bool here, and it's kind of like a gate now, that if you enter it, once you enter it, the item is being decided, and then it's going to roll the random number, and issue solved. That's the only thing that I did differently. I did a lot of things differently, but this is what I decided on would be the simplest, easiest thing to do, and it works. So, all right, and I think that is pretty much it as far as that goes. The one other thing that I did, 2 other things that I did, was I created this bomb, and I'll go into that last, but let me go into this move item script first. So what this does is when you get close enough to an item, it automatically, just like a magnet, draws the item towards you. And this is all it is. It's I created a float called distance that finds the distance between the item and the player. And then if the distance is less than this pickup range float that I have, then the transform.position is going to move towards the position of the player at 20, at the speed of 20 times time.delta time. Now we could put speed on here, but it really doesn't need to be changed for anything else. So I think this one is okay with hard coding. Some people would look at this and say probably shouldn't put a hard number here, but I think it's fine in this instance, just because you'll never really get faster than that. And if you want to get faster than that, you can put it to some obscene number like 100 or 5,000 or whatever you want to put it. But I don't think you need to do that again. So, but if you feel like you want to create another variable for speed, just create another float, call it speed, put it there. We're good to go. All right. So let me go back to this bomb, because this bomb was crazy to code. I got it working. You know, of course, I would not show you anything that I didn't get working. However, you can't start with the bomb in the scene. It has to become enabled after the scene started. So once we do this, here's our bomb, and what it has done, it has automatically figured out how many enemies are in the scene, and I'll show you the code in a second. And plus, every enemy that is being added to the scene, it's also calculating. So if you touch this bomb, this is what happens. Every enemy in the scene goes away. Yeah, so that was cool. Anyway, let's look at this bomb script. Go ahead and pause it as I scroll through this so that you can copy the code. So what we're doing, you do not need this to be a serialized field. I had that serialized for debugging purposes. So anyway, what you need is a list, and a list is like an array, except a list can be changed in real time. So you need a list of type enemy health, and call it enemy list equals new list enemy health. And then you need another enemy health enemy, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Bull killing enemies. So this is another gate, so we don't add things when we don't need to be adding things. All right, so on enable, excuse me, on enable, the list needs to be cleared. So enemy list dot clear, that clears the entire list. Killing enemies is false. And enemy list dot add range, so this will add an array of enemies, an array of objects. We're going to find objects of type. So there's two. There's find object and there's find objects. Make sure it's objects, so that you pick up the array. And this basically finds every enemy in the scene. Okay, so in update, I called a method called find enemies, because I don't know what else we're going to put here later. Probably nothing, because it works perfectly fine the way that it is. So in find enemies, if it is not killing enemies, then enemy equals find object of type enemy. Excuse me, enemy health. And so that's basically picking up any new enemies that have come onto the scene since we enabled this object. Okay, so if this enemy, so if the enemy list doesn't contain this enemy, then add this enemy, and then enemy equals null, so it's going to reset the process so that it can do it again for the next enemy that's coming on. So if this enemy is already here, then find the next enemy and add it to the list. We probably can do yeah, I think this works fine. It works fine, so we're not going to do anything else. Anyway, so if it's not killing enemies, it's going to do this. Else, if it is killing enemies, for each enemy, I don't know if we've done it for each loop, but basically this is taking every enemy in the list that we have of enemies. So for each enemy health, enemy in list, you can also say VAR, which is variable, and it's a way of pretty much auto deciphering what variable you're using. But in this case, we're using enemy health, so let's just stick with enemy health and go for it. So if for each enemy in the list, if enemy list dot contains the enemy in the list, if enemy list dot game object, enemy in list dot game object is active in the hierarchy, then enemy in list take health, enemy in list, sorry, I confused myself. So enemy in list dot take health. So this is calling the void here, the method here that we have in enemy health. So take health, and we're sending a float through it. Where did it go? Hold on. There it is. All right. So anyway, it's sending the float through this, and what the float that we're sending is enemy health dot max health. So it's going to hit it as hard as it possibly can, and then we're going to set this game object to false. Okay. And so how we turn on killing enemies is once we touch this thing, killing enemies is true, and that's it. It's as simple as it gets. So anyway, let this compile. All right, so let's look at see what all we have done. Make sure that you put this move item on all of your item prefabs. That way it'll move it. So as I walk close to this, there you go. I don't know what that is. Apparently one of my projectiles is sitting there. All right, so we can hit this. Nothing came out, but something should come out. Huh? Maybe I picked it up as soon as it came out because of the move item. Anyway, so we'll walk through. Let's get over here. All right, let's knock this thing out. And again, nothing came out. Am I shooting an arrow? Let's see. Oh, there's an error. Let's see what this error is. I don't get what this error is, because it's saying that it is out of the bounds of the array, and I don't understand it because we have 5 items in the array, so this should not be out of bounds. But anyway, let's unpause it. I'm gonna clear everything and unpause it. All right, so you see that the XP items are coming toward me. Don't know what that is, why it's there. Okay. All right, there's our. I can't tell if that's the big money bag or the little money bag, but it was one of the money bags. All right, so let's go to this one and see if we can't. There you go. All right, so that was the big money bag before. This is the little money bag. So I just got 110 gold. All right, so this is going to be another money bag. They might be spawning too much, so we might need to change the weight on the numbers. All right, so anyway, we have all these enemies. They will spawn a bomb eventually, but I don't want to try to find. I don't want to try to wait for the bomb. So anyway, here's the bomb. I just activated it here, and it has picked up all these enemies. So everything that's in the scene is in the list, and boop, there we go. Everything is dead. And then we have a plethora of XP. So anyway, that is it for this video. This is getting really close to being the pretty much the core loop of the game. I think the core loop of the game is pretty much done. As a matter of fact, I think from here on out we're going to work on designing a menu, work on designing some other weapons, maybe, especially one that is like a perimeter effect that we can use to kill all the enemies around us. Anyway, and I'm going to change my basic beam back to not one-hit kill. Anyway, plus I guess we need to make a couple of other types of enemies and have them spawn at different points. So we'll work on that. Anyway, that's it for this video. If you liked it, hit subscribe, and like the video, and consider following me on Patreon. All right, thanks.